Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. What am I supposed to do now? Hey, oh my Lord, we went to the wrong scene. Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. I was anticipating Cantor Norman being with us again. Hey, Rabbi Litwak, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Rabbi David. How are you?
I'm bored. I don't know what to do with myself.
Well,
no holidays?
You know what? Some people could be bored, and others of us can just enjoy.
Is it a relief when Simchat Torah ends for you? Do you feel? I know I do. I mean, do you feel that sense of relief that at least there's a little break now?
There is always a sense of relief. I would be lying if I said that there wasn't. On the other hand, most people think that this is great. I can just go on vacation. And the truth is that the holidays end, and we have to get back into the swing of things. And there's a lot of stuff that we say. Let's deal with it after the holidays. Let's deal with it after the holidays. So it's perfect. This is the month of Cheshvan, or as we say, Mar Cheshvan.
Now, you may know the word mar, right? You may know the word mar from maror on Pesach. We talk about the bitter herbs. So Mar Cheshvan. Cheshvan is known as the bitter month. What's that about?
Well, it is bitter because we have no feast, no festivals, not even a fast day. It is the month without any holidays. It's our only month in Judaism that has no fast days.
That's a little crazy when you think about it. It's the only month. I mean, I'm trying to think of does any other religion have a calendar where there's literally a holiday every month except one?
I was a religious studies major, but the sheer amount that I've forgotten since to it, it's possible. We probably could have figured that out before we got started.
Yeah, I probably should have looked. Sorry about that. No. So the question that I thought we would explore today, though, is what do you do? What do Jews do when there are no holidays? We're so used to preparing for. I had when I was in USY, Rabbi Paul Friedman, who was a big macher in our youth movement, he who lives in Israel, and he used to say every day of the week he'd say Shabbat Shalom, every single day of the week, because he had this sense that we were perpetually preparing for the next, sacred moment, the next Shabbat, the next Chag, whatever it is. So there is a piece of that, I think, that we are always in preparation mode. Certainly as Jewish professionals, we're always thinking about the next Chag, the next holiday. But there's also, I think, an important lesson in what do Jews do when they're not celebrating a holiday? And last thing I'll say, then I'll stop talking, I promise. I've sometimes thought about two different ways of viewing Jewish life. One is both of which involve a cruise ship. So one of which is you're on this cruise ship and you jump off at all the different islands that it stops at. Each, there's an island Shabbat, there's an island for Rosh Hashanah, there's an island for... The other scenario is you're just swimming in the ocean. And I think many people think of Judaism as an island religion, right? That we have these islands that we jump to, and in between, we're just kind of on the cruise ship laying back. I've always thought of Judaism as more of a swim in the sea. So I'm wondering what your take is on that.
What? That's a beautiful metaphor. We didn't prepare that one.
No,
but I think it is a wonderful metaphor that I think I'm going to claim B'Shem Omro in your name to be able to share that.
It's all yours. It's all yours.
With look, there was a great Jewish leader, rabbi, philosopher named Mordecai Kaplan. Mordecai Kaplan was a rabbi in the last century, in the 20th century, who his sort of great achievement is that he created Reconstructionist Judaism. And we could spend a whole lot of time talking about Reconstructionist Judaism, but he had this idea that Judaism is about belonging, behaving, and believing. Okay, the three B's: belonging, behaving, and believing. And I think that behavior, is the standard metric by which we identify Jewishly. Hey,
Right. When someone says, "How Jewish are you?"
Yeah. When people tell me I'm Jewish, I'm proud of being Jewish, but I'm not religious.
Yeah.
What does that really mean? Well, usually it means I don't do certain things. I don't keep kashrut. I don't keep Shabbat. I don't do this mitzvah, or I don't do that mitzvah. And therefore, the gauge, right, or the metric by which we define our Jewishness is by how much we do. And I think that there's something to that. Right? But I think that there are other pieces. Right? So let's start with the idea of behavior. Right? Because Judaism is not an island religion. Right? That behavior, the structure of our day-to-day living, is day-to-day. So much of who we are as Jews, is about what we do, and that means whether that's how we eat or how we dress or how we act. Right? I thought it was interesting that you talked about the person showing up at your house at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So, by the way, people are telling us there's a little bit of an echo. I think I just did something to fix it. Please let us know in the comments if it's fixed, and I apologize ahead of time for that, or not ahead of time. So I was once asked, and then I asked my students thank you, Liz, it's fixed. Sorry, my apologies for that. That was my fault. If someone that didn't know you showed up at your house first thing in the morning, you're just getting out of bed, at what point in your day would they know that you're Jewish? Would it be when they first got to the door because they see a mezuzah on the door? Would it be when they walk inside and they, I don't know, hear you singing Modeh Ani? Would it be when they see that you're not eating bacon at breakfast? Right? At what point, or when you're putting a chai around your neck, at what point would someone know that you're a Jew? And all of those are all the behavior pieces that you were just talking about.
For sure. And I would only add to that that I think that there's passive behavior. So if you came to my door, of course, you'd see a mezuzah. Right? If you looked into the window and you knew where to look, you'd see Judaica around my home. It's, we have a whole shelf of Kiddush cups and Chanukiot, and those could be both active and very passive. Right? I think that lots of people, those are just trinkets on the shelf, and that they're never used. Right? And then, I think that there are the active things. So if I were to be challenged by your question, what would be the thing? Well, it would probably be my getting up, and the first, I put on a kippah in the morning. That's an active action that identifies me Jewishly right from the beginning. So yeah, I think that behavior is a reasonable standard for us to think about you know, what
It's certainly the most obvious, the first one people go to.
Of course. Right?
But that second one, belief, that's one that interests me. I had a professor in college who defined himself as orthoprax. He was our Bible professor, and he was a kippah wearing, went to an Orthodox shul, and he defined himself as, and I'd never heard that before. Someone who's I've heard of orthodox, but not orthoprax. And the way he defined it for me is that doxy means belief. And so orthodoxy means that you have a fixed set of beliefs that are strict. Orthopraxy is that you have a fixed set of practices that are strict, that may or may not be linked to your beliefs.
And look, if we think about Orthodox Judaism, I actually think it's a misnomer. And why did they come up with the idea of a right belief? Well, because when they wanted to respond to a burgeoning reform movement, they wanted to be clear in their nomenclature that we have the right belief, versus a belief that we could change and we could evolve as the reform movement espouses. But the truth is that orthodoxy really is not, their emphasis is not on the doxy piece, on the belief. If we look at our 613 mitzvot, how many of those mitzvot have to do with belief? Now, we could say that they all do, in the sense that there's a belief that God gave us these mitzvot and that we're fulfilling God's will for us. But I think that a better choice would be orthopraxy, as you said, because I could be an Orthodox Jew. It would be hard, but I could be an Orthodox Jew and not necessarily believe, as long as I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right, and
I could not even understand something and still do it and feel, and then I would be in some way fulfilling that.
And this professor, by the way, who was teaching Tanakh, he was teaching, J, E, P, and D, the four authors of which is just a foreign idea in orthodoxy. But as an orthoprax teacher, he practiced an orthoprax life and yet held beliefs that didn't necessarily line up with that.
Look, Judaism doesn't have an official creed, right? But I think if we did, probably the closest would be Rambam's or Maimonides, 12th century, Rambam's 13 Articles of Faith. It is a summary of the basic tenets of what he thought were Jewish, were the important Jewish ideas. They first appear in his commentary on the Mishnah, and great. There we go. Yeah, go to My Jewish Learning, and you can look up the 13 Principles of Faith. I believe in God. I believe God is the creator of the world. I believe that there is no other. I believe that God doesn't have a body. All of these things. And I think this was Maimonides' formulation was an attempt to put forth some true concepts of God and faith. It was his personal one. And it has been hotly debated. It has been revised. It is, though, at least within most prayer services, in the form of what we call Yigdal. Right? But if I don't believe in those, does that take me out of the Jewish realm?
As I'm reading through them as you're talking, and I was just asking myself the same question. Like, am I still, because I'm not sure that I don't think that I buy all of these. God
Uh-oh.
rewards those who obey the
Okay.
commandments of the Torah and punishes those who violate its prohibitions. I'm not sure I buy that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure I buy it either. Right. So, on the other hand, okay. So let's put aside belief because I think we
Okay.
need to come back to all of these.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a suggestion at the end, and let's get to the notion of belonging.
Mm.
Right. So behavior, belief, belong. Right. What is belonging all about? It is a sense of being a part of the Jewish people. Right. It is a sense of peoplehood. Right. What is the expression of my connection to the Jewish people? Right.
By the way, before you talk about that expression, so I just want to share that I started my rabbinical studies at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, and one of the things that one of our assignments was we had to explain Reconstructionist, basically philosophy, in a coffee talk, in an elevator chat. We had to boil it down, and I got stuck on. So we were using Kaplan's. Judaism is the
Evolving religious civilization.
evolving religious civilization of the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did is I assigned an ice cream flavor to each of those words. And the last word, the people word, is the one that I was really kind of struggled with, because Kaplan never defines what it means, what it is that binds us all together into this people. There is something, but it's very, very difficult to figure out what it is. So the way I imagined it, I was really big into Baskin Robbins back then, and I imagined it as mint chocolate chip ice cream. Right? We are all chips, and there's this green stuff that's holding us all together, and none of us really know what the green stuff is, but we're all connected by it. And that green stuff is the peoplehood of Judaism for me. There's something. It's not God, it's not Torah, it's not even history, because we have people who convert to Judaism who don't share our collective history, at least in one way of thinking about it. So I just want to put out there that the idea of peoplehood is itself so difficult to comprehend that then a feeling of being a part of that people is such an interesting piece that he brings to the table.
Yeah. And look, again, oftentimes we define our belonging, right, our connection, our definition of peoplehood as membership in the synagogue,
Right.
right? As if I am going to pay my dues and therefore I am now a part of the Jewish people, right? And I would challenge us to think more broadly about that, right? And I would actually challenge you, Rabbi David, in the sense of the history piece, because yes, that's true that people who convert, right, don't have, right, a, we'll call it the DNA,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that does not preclude them from feeling a sense of connection to the history. Hey, look,
Absolutely.
I my grandparents came to this country, or my great grandparents came to this country like 100 years ago. Right? I don't share the history of George Washington chopping down the cherry tree,
Right.
right? And yet, that is a part of my story.
Yeah.
If I'm going to identify with um, as an American citizen, I can adopt that. I can take on that history. I can feel the pain, of that history, even if I didn't go through it myself.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And naming it
Ilu
as
Mitzrayim, that as
exact,
if
yeah,
I had gone out of Egypt,
right.
I don't even have to experience it, but I should feel as if I
Yeah,
had come.
DNA is that's what I was thinking of. In fact, when I do conversions, when I sponsor someone who's converting to Judaism, one of the first things I say to them is, "Gosh, I remember seeing you somewhere. Oh, I saw
Yeah,
you at Sinai.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not the only rabbi who
Not
does
Temple
that, but
Sinai.
what
Yeah,
is it? No, not Temple Sinai, at Sinai, because
yeah.
you're right. If not in DNA, then certainly in memory and most certainly in spirit, everyone who ever was, is, or will be a Jew does share our history. Absolutely.
So, so let's swing back around in the time that we have to think about this question of how do Jews live Jewishly every day, and no surprise, I'm going to argue that I think that this is a three-legged stool. Kaplan's idea of belonging, behaving, and believing is we need all three of them. Okay? We have to be careful in terms of how we define them. So, in terms of the behaving, right, I don't, I don't believe, right, that I have to follow all 613 commandments in order for me to identify as a Jew. And if I don't, then I'm a bad Jew, or I'm not really Jewish, whatever that means. But that I can't it can't be something passive. Right? I can't uh, I can't show up. Right? I'm going to be meeting with someone, and I've met with any number of people over my career, people who discover late in life that they have Jewish grandparents or Jewish
Mm,
ancestors. Clear, very, like it's absolutely it's established. Okay, and I say to them that that's still not good enough. You can't just say, "Oh, I got the DNA and I am defined as a Jew." And for that matter, I don't want to simplify it, but I think that this is where I'm actually more stringent than my Orthodox brethren, who would say, "Oh, we've established without a doubt that your maternal grandparents were Jewish, therefore you are
right,
Jewish." Okay?
right.
I think that there has to be some sort of behavior. Right? We have to do things that define us as Jews, right?
We
And those
we
things are
we
called
have to
mitzvot.
do Jewish, not just be Jewish.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's right. Belief. Okay. I think that most of the time people think about the notion of belief and what's the belief? Do I believe in God or do I not believe in God? If I don't
Right.
believe in God, then therefore, or I have some question about God, then therefore I can't be really Jewish. I can't be, right? And I look at that in a much larger, a much broader sense, where I say, do you believe in the system?
Mm,
Do you believe in the culture of Jewish life? Right? Is there a commitment to the Jewish enterprise, right? Or right, the framework by which you build your life, your home, is a Jewish one, right? I'll give you a third one, right? Do you look um, through Jewish lenses when you are going to? Yeah, there it is. Yep,
these are my Jewish glasses. When I
that's
look at a bright light,
yeah. They got the
all
little
I see are
stars.
Jewish stars.
See your
Yeah.
stars. There you go. So yeah, I like whenever I look at something, whenever I am thinking about something, it is through a Jewish lens. Right? And if I see that as being the framework on which I'm going to build my life, then I think that you cover the belief piece, whether or not you have a belief in a personal God or some other belief about the divine.
Can I throw one thing in there? I've I've done a lot of I've been with a lot of people who will say to me, as you began, my loved one wasn't Jewish, but Judaism was very important to them. They were a good person. They were kind. And what they ended up describing was a good human being, not just a good Jew. And so the only thing I would add to what you just said is that for me, it's looking at the world through Jewish lens and seeing what you're doing as inspired by Jewish values is powerful. It's alachat kama v'kama, it's even more so when you're able to name what you're doing in a Jewish way, when you're able to use a shared language. I'm not talking about Hebrew, but a shared language or shared vocabulary around why what you're doing is Jewish, not just it must be Jewish because it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure. I would say that every religion in the world tries to teach us how to be good human beings. And I think that there's a shared language among society as a whole as to what, being a good human being is. That's why we call it the golden rule or the universal rule.
Right.
Do unto others as you would want done unto you. Right? That in and of itself doesn't make you Jewish. Right? Where I think you were 100% correct is the way I get to being a good person is through the lens
and the system that you mentioned before. Right.
Yeah.
And which I love. That's such an interesting way of looking at it. All right. I know you have a hard stop at 1, but we've got a belonging.
But I got to get in the last one, the belonging.
Belonging. Let's do it.
Belonging. So, and this is really, how do I connect with other Jews? I don't think you can be fully Jewish on an island. I think you have to, of course, I have a vested interest in people joining the synagogue, but I think that there are many ways in which we connect with other Jews, whether that's participating in communal activities or supporting Jewish communities outside of our own, going to Israel, participating in that way. So
and Rabbi, I would push even a little harder, because I can already hear maybe even myself argue, I believe that I belong, right? Kind of mushing two together. And I would push back and say, you can't do those. Belonging is built on both believing and behaving. And you can't just have one or the other. Liz is asking us a question real quick. Can you learn and try to follow the Jewish teachings without conversion, Rabbi?
Of course. You can absolutely do that. I taught college level intro to Judaism for a number of years in upstate New York. Yes, this is where, so let's take that, all right? And this is where you have to go beyond just knowledge. It's based on knowledge, but do I believe in the system? All right. And do I participate in the system? And I would suggest that three-legged stool, actually behavior requires a belief and a sense of belonging. Belonging requires a sense of belief and behavior, and belief requires a sense of behavior and that
I love
they
that.
all require those the other two in order for it to be full.
That's nice. And I brought my three-legged stool for you.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
I had this made for me last year. I'm holding it. So it's
you
the
go.
world, and my three pillars are Torah, Avodah, and Chesed, Gemilut Chasadim. So there's another three-legged stool for you. Hey, Liz, if you want to learn, reach out to us. We'd love to teach you. We'd love to have you join us for services or classes or all the different things that we've going on here. And I said before 1 o'clock, I meant 2 o'clock. I know you have a hard stop, Rabbi, so we're going to let you go.
Yeah, but I think we should give them just a little teaser for 2 weeks from now. Demons, witches, and monsters. Oh my! Right in time for Halloween. Are we supposed to, as Jews, celebrate Halloween? And is there a belief in witches and demons and monsters in Judaism? I will leave that to all of you to show up in 2 weeks.
I do love candy corn.
I love candy corn.
I do love candy corn.
It's yeah.
Do you bite the white off at the top first and then the orange? I know. Thank you. Testify. And the choir sings. Yes, beautiful. All right, my friends, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.